Welcome to another episode of Mission in Motion, the official podcast of the Central Conference. I am your host, Superintendent Danny Martinez. Today I'm so happy. We're diving into one of the most important areas of ministry and often so overlooked, which happen to be our children and youth. And I'm honored to welcome a good friend of our Central Conference, but also a good friend of mine, Steve Berger, who has served as children coordinator in our denomination, but also here in the Central Conference. He has tremendous impact in the whole Evangelical Covenant Church through great leadership and love for youth and children. He has developed great curriculum and has a great heart for the next generation. So, Steve, it's great to have you here. Let's start with your story. How did your journey in ministry begin?
Thanks, Danny. I would say it started when I was a kid. I had a sense of the presence of the Spirit. And when I was 16, I had an opportunity to be the teacher for a group of third graders, which was awesome. We just had a great time together. So even at the very beginning, there was a sense of call into ministry. And for a while, I stepped away from that, working for 3M Company. But then really there was a powerful moment where the Spirit nudged me and said, hey, it's time to get ready to enter into ministry. And so went on to seminary with my wife, Marty. And then we began to work toward our ministry in the local church. And that started out actually in Jamestown, New York, where Marty and I served as associate pastors there for children and youth ministry and family ministry. And then after that, we served also a church up in Salem in the Minnesota area. And we were at that church for several years as well, functioning in the same way as associate pastors for youth, children, adults, and older adults. It was really a great time there until we were called to the denominational office back in 1999. And at that point, the first thing that they started having me do was work on the confirmation material, which was in kind of disarray. So even though I was there to work in children's ministry, there were some other issues that needed to be addressed first.
That's wonderful, Steve. You've held some incredible roles in the ECC, especially as Director of Children's Ministry. What have been some of the highlights and challenges during your time in that role?
I think one of the things that was unique about that particular time is that until that date, clear back in 99, there wasn't a person that was overseeing children and family ministry. Didn't exist. So the role that I had was something new for the denomination. But one of the things that I learned early on is that you can't do everything on your own, especially with 850 churches. And so what I did was work at finding coaches and each of the elements of our denomination. And those opportunities that we had of working alongside one another allowed us to prayerfully think about how do we best support our churches and our conferences. So with each of those coaches within each of our conferences, that allowed us to more broadly support our local churches.
So you've helped shape curriculum used across Covenant churches. What was that process like, and what did you hope children would walk away with?
Yes, one of the things that we didn't have until that time were resources for our children and family ministries. And one of the first things we actually did was we moved into something called Adventures with God, which was actually a curriculum that was put together for our Spanish-speaking churches. And I said, how about if we take this material and also turn them into English? And so we did that, and we also made some additional adjustments to that over time, just as far as over the years of time that had already been in place. So we updated that, and this allowed us to provide a curriculum for all of our churches for free. And that was a big deal back at that time. Most people were having to pay a significant amount of money for a curriculum, and this was one that was free, but also was in concurrence with who we were as a denomination, as a covenant, and it lifted up our ministries for children and youth and for those that were ministering in their local churches.
So, Steve, I know that you've had an impact on me personally, and I know that you've had an impact on many other people personally. As I visit the Central Conference churches, one of the things that after hearing you say for for a long time, that children are a part of the liturgy, and they should be, I put in my invitation, a response to a church that I would like to have a young person and a child participate in liturgy. And I know that many churches have really benefited from that. So I want to thank you for that. So that brings us to the Central Conference, right? Now that you're directly involved with the Central Conference, what excites you the most about this role?
Yeah, just like in the same venue of engaging in this ministry across the entire spread of who we are, this allowed me, focusing on the Central Conference, to do a similar thing that I had done before, and that is developing coaches. And the coaches, what we do is we actually have conversation with each other and live into our role as pastors, learning from each other and the things that we have engaged in. Justice Journey is one of those elements that I put together initially within our denomination, but something that's also been spread out pretty importantly within the Central Conference especially. And Justice Journey it's about recognizing that there have been times within the context of our own history that we haven't fully lived into what Christ has called us to engage in, which is caring for one another, loving for one another, acknowledging that we live in the context of a fallen nature. And this provided an opportunity for our kids, for our families, to look more deeply in what it means to love one another, but also saying that we are all part of God's children, no matter who we are. And the same thing with regards to our children and the church worship. Kids have oftentimes just been left out.
Right.
And instead of that, one of the things that we've really pushed hard on is remembering that some of this liturgy, which not our denomination, but within this context of period of time, many of our churches stepped away from liturgy, which is actually kid-friendly, because it gives them opportunities to participate in one way or another. So they could participate by giving a prayer. They can participate up front. Oftentimes what we've had them do in the churches that we have served is that they would be looking at similar things that was being preached on that day. And even though, by the way, we never dismiss churches, we also invite our kids to be part of something. And then when they would come back, they would share some of the same things, their thoughts, their thinking about the very thing that we had been preaching on. So that was another way of tying both our kids and the entire church together in the context of their own spiritual journey.
You've always shared your heart for children and ministries, and how do you see our churches being empowered to better support families, children, and teens in the years to come?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think there are many more of our churches today are acknowledging the need of the participation of both youth and children in the context of the church ministry. So part of it happens on Sunday, but it happens also well beyond that. Oftentimes we do obviously have them come during midweek or in addition to what we're doing on Sunday. But in addition to that, the sense that we are one body together and that we spend time interacting with one another across the generations so that we actually know each other. And for the ministries that we do outside the church, we do that collectively. So it's not just adults or senior adults, it's the entire church family that engages in ministry together.
So if a church leader is wondering where to begin with children's ministries, what would you encourage them to do?
I would encourage them to have opportunities up front, as we've talked about before, in the context of our worship. So giving them opportunities to pray for us, giving them opportunities to share their story. Story is really important, and we've lost that a lot in our churches. And every child, interestingly enough, as I've been with them, do have a story to share about their thoughts of their relationship with Jesus. We need to do that, of course, across the board for all generations, but certainly among our children, interestingly enough, they're often the ones that are happy to step up and talk about what their thoughts are about Jesus and what maybe Jesus is calling them to. So I think that that's a really important part, in addition to the ministries that we may engage in outside the church, and also our specific ministries for children and or youth, in which they invite friends to participate, which oftentimes, interesting enough, ends up bringing the entire family to our church.
I am so grateful for you, Steve. I often call you an ambassador of grace for our conference, because people deeply appreciate the gift of guidance and wisdom to care for our children and youth better. So thank you so much for your wisdom and leadership, not only in our conference, but across the entire denomination. We're so grateful for the way you continue to invest in children, youth, and those who serve them. To everyone listening, be sure to connect with Steve at Celebration, May 1st through the 3rd. This year, 2025, at Evangelical Covenant, when we do our celebration. Celebration is a joint effort of the Ministerial Association of the Evangelical Covenant Church here in the Central Conference, as well as our annual meeting. Make sure that you connect with Steve and just be contagious with his spirit for our children, youth, and those who serve them. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so don't miss future episodes of Mission in Motion. Steve, thank you so much. Blessings to you and to Marty and to all of your family. You're leaving such a legacy for the Evangelical Covenant Church, and we're so grateful to have you part of the Central Conference and our staff.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here. It's always a pleasure to minister alongside you. Thank you, Dan.
Thank you, Steve.